watching PJNet.TV live at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and we are about to show you what's behind the curtain, and what that is a day in the life of Emily Lisa. She's our regular guest about this time this month. Our bumper's running, we're recording, we're streaming. We're going to count it down to Studio 10 starting now. Okay, welcome back to PJNet.TV. I'm your host, Coach Prasick. I'm still making some last-minute adjustments, if that would be allowed. You know, every month on this first Thursday of the month, Emily Lisa comes our way. And Emily Lisa has been here a few times before, but today we're going to do something a little different, and I think you're going to enjoy it because our mission here is to share our walk with Christ. And Emily, your walk with Christ includes many things, but you are our host, you are our tour guide, as we take a tour of a day in the life of Emily Lisa. Now, this tour that we're doing today, is this a typical day, or is this just part of other things you're doing?
We'll go through a typical day. But I don't think I'll be able to explain everything about my day.
Oh, come on. You can do it.
My days can be a little bit crazy.
All right, really? What time do your days typically start?
It depends, because I can set my own hours. But a typical day, I'll get up sometimes between 5 and 7 and check my work messages. And then after that, I may go to like a friend's house to help them out, and then I'll come back home and work some more. So there's a couple of my friends that I help out during the daytime, like help cutting their grass and stuff like that. And the family that's very special.
Well, can I be your friend? I have a pretty big yard.
You do?
We'd make great friends. My yard's so big.
Look, I got my own yard too, so I do that. So
really? So how big is the yard you cut?
My yard is pretty good, and helping them, their yard is pretty big too. So
riding mower or push?
Right now it's a push mower. So,
oh yeah,
but
I remember those.
But hey, a little work never killed anybody, did it? So
I don't know. I'm still alive. I guess not.
And being that I'm a writer and I work from home and I'm always at my desk, I don't mind to get out there and push mow and do something strenuous. So it actually helps me mentally and physically. So.
Well, what I do when I'm mowing grass, that's some time that I don't want to call it in prayer. That would be a little bit over the top, but I do have time for meditation. I'm talking just, because there's nothing to do. You're just guiding the mower. It's a riding mower. So, just steer the darn thing. And I try to use that as time. I, use it to get some vitamin D. You don't have, you can take it from a bottle, or you can just go outside. God furnishes it absolutely free.
That's for sure.
But I burn up too easy. So, okay. So, all right. So you've woke up, you've mowed the grass. You come back home. Do you take? I hope you take a shower at that point or something.
Sometimes I do. No, I'm just kidding. I do take a shower. So.
Well, you work alone. I mean, you maybe that's why you work alone. You didn't take a shower. Everybody left. Yeah. All right. So now it's time to get serious professionally. So it's now about what, 11 or 12? It's time to eat lunch.
Yep. Eat lunch, and then my day gets getting started. Which I usually work late into the night, honestly, because I work better at night than I do in the daytime.
What do you call late? I'll beat late.
You. Staying up till at least probably midnight most times.
Oh my gosh. I'm just getting started at midnight, Emily.
You are?
Last night, I hit the bed about 6 a.m. The sun was coming up.
No, that's too late for me.
Oh. Well, it just depends. I don't always do that. I usually get to bed between, I would say, 3 and 4. But I do. You can call me crazy, you can call me eccentric or whatever, but I'm gonna testify. That is the time that's uninterrupted and I can focus.
I
Now,
understand that.
now usually after between 10, we end up here about 10 p.m. So usually between 10 and midnight, people don't know, and I want to thank Barbara, our producer. We have to go over the things, scheduling, uh, materials, new people. So Barbara and I kind of we're the coaches watching the game films between 10 o'clock and midnight. But after that, usually my best work gets done between midnight and 3, somewhere in there. All right, so you've had your lunch, and
Yes.
who is
So
this? By the way, who is this? What's this about?
okay, well, that's me, and that's one of my profile pictures on Fiverr. And Fiverr is an online Israeli marketplace, and that's where I do the majority of my work. And I have worked my way up to top rated seller. So I just recently got that promotion, and you have like 4 different seller statuses that you can move up with
What are you
Fiverr
sell?
at that
What are you selling?
marketplace.
Now, Fiverr does a lot of things.
Yes.
Wh-
I do my Christian editing and proofreading through there. I do children's books. I help publish those, and I help pastors publish their sermons and turn them into books. So I do like several different things.
Okay, now a lot of people may not know what Fiverr is.
Um, it's an online marketplace for freelancers, and you can sell your skill, and you can also purchase things at affordable prices. Like if you're looking for a particular service or something like that, like you need editing, or let's say you need like web design. There's just all, if you can think about a service, you can find it.
Well, I've
So
used them more than
yeah,
once, and like logo or graphic work before. I don't really have that many artistic skills graphically, but Emily, there are starving graphic artists in Czechoslovakia that will crank out a logo for $50 or artwork, 50
yep,
bucks. And if you tried to hire that domestically, it would be 200, 300, 400, even higher. So like you said, it's a marketplace, but it's good for sellers and it's good for buyers. It's an
right.
open thing, and I've only used them twice, usually in designing logos, but it's all there. So you offer your editing, your writing skills
Yes,
through them.
yes.
Does that pretty much consume, how many hours a week do you probably put in at that?
I probably put in at least 35 hours. At
Really?
least 35. It has turned into a full time job. Yep.
Well,
So
and you know what? You can control it.
I can. I like
Isn't that
that. That is
great?
the great thing. Yes. So,
I
but
mean, you
it
can't make it go up, but you can make it go down. If you're busy or
yeah.
want to do something else, you can just say no.
It wasn't always like this. It wasn't always full time, and I did not think it would turn into a full time job. I did not. Not when I first started it. When I first started, it was just something that I was tinkering around with. You just try to think of ways. Well, how can I work from home? And you sit down at the computer and you start googling ways to work from home. And I come across that. I'm like, no way. And I didn't think I ever really would, but I just played with it, and sure enough, God blessed it. That along with my CNS Christian publishing, what I do local,
Hmm.
that's it's met my income needs financially. And I mean, I don't give credit to that. I give credit to God. I mean, He's my provider, so He provides for me
Well, tell us about how God
month after
provided
month.
that first job you did for $5 or whatever.
Hey, He blessed the 5 books. Hey, he blesses the little things.
Yeah.
Anytime, most of the time, like I'm reading in the Bible, He blessed the little things. And you know what? It's through the little things where you see how mighty God is. And I'm trying to think back to my very first job at Fiverr. when I first started out, I was writing articles and I was ghostwriting. And if you know
Mm-hmm.
what ghostwriting is,
Oh
you're
yeah.
writing for somebody and you're basically giving them what you wrote. And so I would ghostwrite something and they would take it like for $5. And then I was like, okay. And so, I mean, when I say I started out on the bottom, I literally started out on the bottom. But then as I did that and they started leaving reviews, then I started climbing up the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Sounds great.
you know,
Well, I have here something that doesn't look at all like that.
okay, this is this is one of the pictures I actually use on Fiverr, and it is this is actually where I went on one of my interviews at the radio station after I had written one of my books and everything, and I used that one on Fiverr as saying, you know, I'll be your Christian editor and proofreader. So, or I'll be your editor and proofreader, because I've got two different ones, because I don't just edit Christian books, I edit any kind of book that's, I say, clean and wholesome. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if it's not something that I
Right.
don't want
Right.
my teenage daughter, or actually she's not a teenager anymore. If I don't want, if it's not something she could read, I don't really want to have no part in doing it.
Right.
I have my guidelines. So, but yeah, that's just a picture of one of my journeys.
So this is
So
at a radio station, that
yes, yep,
transmits on through an antenna. That what we call a terrestrial based production.
yes.
And I see a bunch of stuff in the front here, and I cannot figure what are y'all doing, going through a bunch of CDs and DVDs, or what, packing to go
She
somewhere?
she was playing songs and stuff. I was trying to remember which songs actually she was playing, but she interviewed me, and um, we were just playing songs as I was talking. So I would
Well,
talk a little bit, she'd play a song. Talk a little bit, she'd play a song. So
well, this is before your time, Emily, but before they did it that way, there were these round platters of vinyl called records.
oh
They
yeah,
were
I remember records. I'm not that. I remember records. I actually
okay. Well,
do.
that's the way we did it, and of course they're bulky and they
Yeah.
scratch, and
Look,
the companies, all the record labels would send records to radio stations at no charge, and we would take them home, and because we had multiple copies, because they would burn out, because you had to cue them up, you had to run it in forward and run it in reverse, zip zip zip, zip anyway. But you realize today they don't even do it the way they do it there. Everything is digitally, done. It's
yeah.
all on a hard drive or a solid state drive, to say the least. But I love radio, Emily. Couldn't help but editorialize. How often? Well, that's not all you do. Here
Okay.
we are. That looks like some sort of children's book. Who's
It,
what's going on
it
here?
it is. That's a children's book, and that goes along with another one of the jobs that I do. I edit the children's books, and then I sort of format them so when they're done, they'll have the room for the illustrator to be able to draw the illustrations at the top of the manuscript. And then what I do too is I go through and I make sure that whatever they're sending me is able to be read by that particular age group. I
Mm.
have, so because I've worked with small kids like for a long time through the elementary school, and I have a certificate in early childhood, so that helps me out when it comes to doing the children's books.
So
So
you're telling me that the words have been written, but you
yeah,
do the font, the color, the layout, and there's still no artwork? How in the world do you do that? I mean, I would be really upset if I was the artist, the graphic designer, being
I know, right?
boxed in by somebody like you.
I know. Well, they send it to me, and it's like they have no clue, of course, what to do or where they think that it should go, like the words or what picture actually needs to be drawn where. And sometimes the illustrators I've ran into, they don't even know, they don't even understand sometimes. Now some do, but some don't. So I've even had to guide some of them before.
I would just be I would think it'd be the other way around, that the artistic foundation would be established and you would use, whatever space was there to put the other content, but apparently it's the other way around.
Right. And I
Ooh.
guess it just depends on the person too, because you get some people that send the manuscripts. They want it a particular way too. So, but
I I don't know how you keep everybody in line. Of course, you're one of the ones being kept in line, I guess. Who's in charge? Who's in charge? I mean, who do you take your orders from?
who do I take my orders from? My customers. I'm pretty much my own boss, so I get to set my own time. But I do have deadlines I have to meet because they'll ask me, when are you going to have this back? Okay, well, this is like a big project, so it may take 10 to 14 days if it's a really big project. But
Mm-hmm.
most of the time, my customers are wanting it right on time. So, but I don't blame them. But and it's like I tell them, sometimes you don't know how long it's really going to take until you actually dive in and start working on
I
something.
know. Well, and the
Because because some people, especially if you're trying to edit, some people will write like they talk, and and I have a southern accent, so I'm glad I don't write like I talk.
yeah, every word would be misspelled.
That's right. Maybe every other word.
So, well, and one of the problems that I've been on both sides of the fence, but I produce content, and you know, people bring you these ideas, and of course they want, 20. Well, they want a bunch of stuff crammed into a little space. They got all, and you got to get them to say, no, what's the important focus? What's the important points?
Right.
So that's the first struggle. And then, it gets down to they want to know how much does it cost. Well, telling them that it's so much per hour doesn't help,
Right.
because the next question invariably is, well, about how many hours are we talking about? And it's hard to know in advance how many hours are going to be in a project based on the initial conversation. How do you reconcile, and how do you compromise, and how do you market yourself? Because customers don't want to write you a blank check and say just fill it in when you're done.
Right. Right. I always tell them, I'm like, this is a roundabout figure. So a lot of times I'll give them a bottom number, but I'll tell them that when I get in and I start working on it, that the price is subject to change. So you know, just because I'm saying it's this doesn't mean the price is not going to go up. And most of the time, they've been very nice to me about it. But every now and then, you'll get a customer that's really hard to deal with.
Well, they remember that low number,
Oh yeah.
and different people have different ways of dealing with this. But I don't do it the way you do it. I just
Yeah.
say it's this much. Okay. Now, if I can get it done in a little bit of time, that's to my credit. That's to my benefit. But you know what? No matter how many hours I spend on it, we're not going to go over that price. So that gives them. But many of my clients, Emily, are first time buyers, so they have no experience knowing that artistic work or creative work isn't the same thing as changing the brakes on your car. If you can go in for a brake job and they'll tell you, oh, yeah, here's how much it is, because they've done it 100 times. They know how long it's
Right.
going to take.
Right.
They know how much creative work isn't that way at all, and it can lead to friction. It can lead to frustration.
Yeah, it can.
But you've never had that happen.
Yeah, I've definitely had that happen before. Yes, I have. So
Have you ever lost a client over it, or were you able to work things out?
most of the time, I've been able to work things out. There is like a couple of people that I've had to refund. I'm like, well, if you're not totally satisfied, I mean, cause I was like, I'll just give you a refund.
Mm-hmm.
It was just you had to pick and choose your battles. It's like, please don't leave me a bad review.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I've worked hard to get where I'm at. I'm like, don't do that.
I hear
But
you.
you
I
can't
hear you.
please everybody, though. You can't please everybody.
I could tell you a story, but it's inappropriate for broadcast. Okay, here. Why did you include this?
Okay, this is what I use online, and it says preach the word because this is the picture that I use to help promote my other gig that I have online as far as helping pastors turn their sermons into books. So that's that picture.
And you've mentioned several things. As a percentage, how much of it is working with pastors in that capacity? How much is in editing? How much is in proofreading? What's the mix?
Well,
What's the recipe?
most of what I have been doing, most of it has been in editing, but I also help the pastors. It's just, trying to find balance sometimes is hard, but the majority of my work more comes from editing. But as far as helping the pastors, back to the pastors, helping them publish their books, a lot of times it's like these days they have all their stuff transcribed,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't really work with transcribed sermons because trying to get that like into a book. But if they send anything to me, I tell them that I need it to be written out, like a written sermon or written Sunday school lessons. It's just, if I did do anything transcribed, it would be a whole lot more added cost, and that's too is something that I can't give figures on until I see what they have. But
Well,
I
tell.
I tried transcribed work before. It's hard work because again, it's just hard. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, they got technology today that makes it more possible than it was in the old days because they had to literally go play it back word for word and writing it down as they do.
Yeah,
Where today you can get transcribed electronically.
yeah.
Captions or autogen Google anyway.
Okay.
Do you face this challenge that I have? You have multiple. You're working for maybe you got 3 projects that you're working on, and for me, Emily, I've got to immerse myself in the project I'm working on. I can't work on it 2 or 3 hours today and then put that aside and then go to the next project, work on it two or
Right.
three hours. I can't do it. Or if I
Mhm.
try to, it's frustrating and it probably is compromised.
Yeah.
I have to just totally immerse myself into one project and work it through. How do you deal with those challenges?
Well, I tried to do it like that at first. I try to like work on one and then go to another one and work on one. That does not work out at all. So I'm like you. I have to focus on one and then move to the next and then
Hmm.
move to the next one. Otherwise, my brain is all over the place. I get more done focusing on one thing at a time.
Well,
But
it's
yeah, in the back of
creative.
my mind, though, I'm thinking about all these other ones
I
that need to be
know. Yeah.
completed. I'm like, if I just work on this a little bit, then maybe that'll cut down on my time. It just don't work out that way.
Well, and then you always are wanting to get more work, future prospects for work. So you're immersed in this project, and somebody calls you or contacts you, and they start explaining their idea to you, and meanwhile it's completely broken your concentration, your immersion in the project you're on. And this is for a prospective client, not a certain client. And I wind up telling people, I think we could do that. I'd love to take that on. I could. Can we talk again in about 2 weeks when I wrap up this project I'm on? And they don't
Yeah.
want to hear that.
Yep. Yep. I've ran into the same thing, but at the same time, I'm like, hey, sometimes it's like if you want my services, sometimes you're just gonna have to wait though, because I'd rather put my time fully on one thing and give it my all than try to scatter my brain. I think focusing on one thing at a time works out best. I mean, it
It
does for
it
me.
works. It works for me, but some people come to me too late. In other words, my book's coming out in 2 weeks. I'd like you to do a book trailer.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm not saying it's impossible. If I didn't have anything else to do, we could
I
probably do
know.
it. But it would be unfair to my client that I'm serving right now. And if you are my client, you can expect the same level of dedication. I can't be, when I'm sort of, quote, on the clock for you, I can't
I
be fielding
understand.
call, but we all need future jobs, right? We need that
And
future. And,
I get pressure like that on me all the time, and I get like I had somebody recently that's told me, hey, my brother is dying, and I really want to get this published before my brother dies, and it's just I don't have no control of that if the book gets
yeah,
published before the person's brother dies, and
yeah.
it's just I'll try, and I'm sorry, but you can get all kinds of pressure, but
Well, Emily, it's been a journey today, just sort of walking along with you on a typical day in your life, and we appreciate you sharing because there's so many. Yeah, you've got all kinds of talents and skills and craft that get applied in unique ways with every job, and that's not the same as changing the brakes on your car. It's a
yeah,
different type of enterprise. But we appreciate you, sharing, and we appreciate your service. It's sort of like I used to tell people, my ministry is to help yours, and
right.
that's kind of what you're doing.
Hey,
Is
we're
you're
all in it
helping them,
together.
yeah, you're helping them in their ministry. Emily, it's been fun, and we get to do this again next month. Don't know what we'll do then, but we appreciate you sliding the curtain back so we can see what your life is like and how you are serving in the kingdom. And we are proud of you for what you do, and can't wait to hear what you're going to bring with us to us.
Thank you.
This time next month. All right, cool, folks. That was Emily Lisa. What a thrill. Gosh, we all get so wrapped up in our own stuff. We don't know what other people are doing, and a lot of times nobody knows what we're doing, and yet we need to know, don't we? We need to share each other's joys and our burdens, and this is a way that we can do it. And I appreciate Emily Lisa sharing her life with us and her experiences and all that. Well, folks, that is not only going to wrap it up for me tonight, that's going to wrap it up for me this week, because I only do this Monday through Thursday. But tomorrow, Friday, Steve Hazards takes the controls of the PJNet engine, and he's quite the captain. And he starts at about 9 o'clock p.m., as we do, and we just kind of have some fun. He plays some retro tunes and some jazz and oldies, but all that's just the warm-up for his 10 o'clock My Perspective and Comments, which is a look back on the week behind us and takes a look spiritually as what is the implications of what's going on, and then he'll wrap it up with a higher look with a little Bible study. We'll bring some scripture to bear on some of this stuff. We've had a wonderful time this week. Folks, we are making an earnest effort to recruit more and more first-time visitors, and with the Blue Ridge Writers, the Blue Ridge Mountain Christian Writers Conference just ending, we're reaching out to all of you who were in attendance. We would love to have you share your experiences, and if you know somebody who was there that we may not be in contact with, go ahead and let them know that we're doing this, and we are committed to providing a platform for everyday Christians to share their walk with Christ. And I'm excited about it. And we heard the first installment of that tonight from Rachel Colby. There will be more to come. We've already got two. Oh gosh. Go to pjnet.tv and take a look at the schedule. There's a button there, click on it, and you can see, and you can even click on the individual's name and it'll tell you more about them, bio and all kind of stuff, how to connect with them. And I'm excited about it. But I love what we do here, and I love what God is doing through the people that he allows us to bring onto the screen to share with you. So that wraps it up for me. Before I leave, I'm going to leave with this challenge for you to ask yourself these two questions. What is the boldest thing that you've ever done for Jesus Christ? And the second question, when was that? And the challenge is to never be satisfied with either answer.